Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Jan Otero. I am a human capital development expert here in ETF. And today I will be mediating this very interesting webinar where we're going to discuss the crucial roles of vocational education and training in fostering systems of innovation. I'm very happy to be discussing this subject with you today. And we have today a very interesting panel of specialists and experts to discuss this topic. So I would like to welcome today for the discussion Dr. Bojan Jovanovski, who is a coordinator of the GreenOvet project. Also Dr. Trajce Velkovski, who is the head of the Center of Vocational Excellence in Green Innovation in North Macedonia. We also have with us Melanie Henke and Christian Wild, both project managers from the Hansa Parliament from Germany. And we also have with us Baldwin Grieving, who is a senior project manager at Catapult in the Netherlands. So today, our webinar, it's simply to bring a message. Our main objective is to highlight how vocational education can do more. And we'll bring here different experts, different cases that you will see of concrete examples of how vocational education in different places in the world, it's leading processes of innovation. And so before we start our discussion, just a few remarks. I also want to highlight that this conference, this webinar, it's being currently streamed by ETF. So this will also be available as a link later on, so people can watch this and rewatch this if they're very interested in the discussions. And to open our discussion in the moment, I will invite our head of unit of Skills Identification and Development Unit, Manuela Prina. Please, Manuela, introduce us to the topic, and very happy to have you here. Thank you very much for your time, and happy to listen to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jan, and welcome to everybody, those of you who are joining live in the event, and also those who follow us on the streaming, and also those who will watch the webinar later when the time will allow for them. I think it would be a very inspiring but also really important reflection to look at vocational education and training in the context not only of skills development, that of course is a primary responsibility of VET, but also looking at the contribution of VET in the context of innovation and innovation ecosystem. This is also particularly important in the European Year of Skills that we opened on the 9th of May, where we really look at the skills as a jigsaw. And this is also reflected in the logo of the ETF initiative for Skills for Enterprise Development, where we look at skills as a piece of the puzzle, a piece that if it's missing, the puzzle cannot be completed. So we hear very often to talk about innovation policies, innovation strategies. And here the question is always that, you can put resources there, you can put technology there, but if you don't have the skills to make things happen, things will not move forward. At the same time, if you have brilliant skills, but the rest of the system is not really coming together, it's very difficult to make use of those skills. And this creates very often also a mismatch that needs to be looked at and resolved. And this is why for us is important to title today's event Bridging the Gap, the crucial roles of VET in fostering system of innovation. And I want to focus your attention on two things that have been done on purpose, and we will hear from our speakers today what is behind those words. The first is roles, and if you see is plural, is not the role, is the roles. So it's different ideas, experiences, modalities for which we can bring vocational education and training in the puzzle. So to plug it in and make sure that the potential and also the aspiration and the competences that we have in the VET system are really part of the effort. But it's a plural because we have diversity, and I think this will be reflected in the debate that we will have in a moment. The second word that is in plural is systems. So fostering systems of innovation. And again, the word is not used by chance in a plural modality. Why is not a system of innovation? Because there is much diversity when we look, for example, at sectors. We look at different aspects of the innovation ecosystem. We look at the technology side, we look at the production side, we look at the business models, we look at the diversification of products and services. And this is why it's important to look at VET in the context of the diversity and the diversification also of the economy on one side, but also of the community. It's also systems because we have to keep in mind the diversity in terms of geographies somehow. So when we look at our town, we look at our city, region, country, macro region, the whole world, and the systems of innovation as it is for value chains are very much something we need to keep in mind to really understand where to position the role of VET, where to position also the role of VET in terms of contribution to technology advancement and to applied research. So today we have gathered together a diverse community of educators, policymakers, and leaders from industry and innovators that really will show us and advocate for the role of vocational education. Last week, I was in the conference where I discussed the role of applied science universities in fostering innovation ecosystem. So we very often look into, the role of different actors, and this is very important. However, what makes things happen is really this system approach, is coming together and exploiting the potential, the competences, and really the abilities of all actors around the table. So we think that today's event is not just a gathering, really, but it's a catalyst for change. For many years, we have looked at vocational education and training a bit as a sideline or, as not really a contributor to the change and to the advancement, but that it is more and more at the center of attention. And I think today, the role of vocational education and training is not only looked at for the education and training of young people, but more and more looking at the role that VET has also in upskilling, reskilling, and making sure there is advancement on skills that are needed in a transforming society and new needs of economies for innovation, for greening, for embracing the digital transformation. So as we start this journey together this afternoon, let's keep in mind really the transformative power of education and think, as we underline in the Year of Skills, that focusing on skills development for people is really something that we need to do to make sure that individuals benefit, societies benefit, and I would say the whole world can benefit to achieve together the goal that we have, to make our societies for sure greener, for sure benefiting from the digital transition, but more importantly, to be just and fair and inclusive. And so for this, I really wish you a great webinar ahead, and I look forward to hear examples and good practices that will bring a new light on the role of VET, actually the roles of VET in fostering systems of innovation. Thank you, everyone, and let's move on with the meeting. Jan, back to you.
Thank you so much, Manuela. It's always a pleasure to hear you, and very, very happy to see your perspective on the modernity of vocational education as a driver of innovation. And this is the core message that we want to bring with this event today. Also, just a few remarks. We will have different presentations. I will start with a presentation which is a bit conceptual, but there is a reason for that. Schumpeter was one of the first economists that actually said what innovation is. And one of the ways that he defined innovation was as a creative destruction. So what we're going to do with this here in this event, it's a bit of a creative destruction. So I'm going to present something, and I will ask all my participants to question the things that I have presented based with their experiences and their knowledge of the roles of that in systems of innovation. But to start this conversation, let's first look at what is a system of innovation and how can we define that? Well, a system of innovation, if we look at literature, you're going to find many different types of definitions. But in general, it is a system of innovation refers to the complex network of actors and processes involving in generating, diffusing, and utilizing new knowledge and technologies to drive innovation and economic development. So we're starting from this point of view, which is a traditional definition of a system of innovation. So if we continue, we say, what are the main actors and what are the main functions that these actors have in a system of innovation? Well, basically, we will have a government, a business side, and the universities and research. This is also the traditional way of seeing a system of innovation. More recently, this discussion has been also focusing on the roles of the financing institutions, and more importantly, on the role of the users and the consumers. How far do companies and researchers and government listen to the feedback of users and consumers to develop innovation, and how much these users and consumers are inserted in the systems of innovation, as Manuela described, in a systematic perspective? All these different actors theoretically have different roles. The government, it's important for, of course, to framing the policy framework and creating the rules and the institutions that will exist in the system. Financing institutions are crucial for the financing part, of course. The business and entrepreneurs are the ones who are really driving the system and making it happen to a certain extent. But also, and I left this one for the end, the universities and the research institutes are very often seen as the main players for science world. And this is fair to a certain extent. The point is, what about that? Where is that in the traditional discussions about systems of innovation? It's not very clear. If we look at the main policies, if we look at the innovation policies, if we look at frameworks, academic frameworks, very often that it's seen as the last point of the equation. And it's not necessarily framed within the system of innovation, because usually universities are seen as the main educational players in this side. So we are here to question this, and we are here to see different cases of how this can happen. Moving on, it's very important to understand that when we talk about innovation, we're usually talking about multiple different types of processes that we simplify saying innovation. Innovation can happen in so many different ways that it's extremely even hard to be able to theorize that. But in the last decades, we have been seeing two main processes of innovation. On one hand, the linear model, which is the one that heavily influences innovation policies nowadays, which is the one that sees innovation as the development of science. So basically, the process, it starts with the science world and it goes all the way to the production world. So you have the phases of knowledge generation, knowledge codification, knowledge utilization, and this is usually the one that we see in the front line of innovation policies nowadays. There is a strong assessment with a relationship with high tech and the work in the R&D facilities. There is a strong focus of big companies leading usually this process. And that here, it's not traditionally seen as a knowledge generation actor. In fact, that enters much more in the part of the knowledge utilization when the technology is already available, the production systems are already developed, and that needs to train those who will act as users of the formal and the scientific knowledge that is developed somewhere else. So this is one process that we usually see happening very much in the case of big companies. If we look at the other side, learning by doing, this is the very important process of innovation because it's associated with the incremental innovations. So it's not necessarily associated with high tech. It's not necessarily associated with science-based innovation processes, and it's much more related to the work of companies and SMEs. This is traditionally where VET has a significant impact because you need those who will be able to design, install, adapt, operate, and maintain the technologies, the equipments and softwares that exist and that are seen as innovations. So in this other side of the equation, usually in SMEs, we will see a substantial role of VET graduates, and VET institutes are very important in this case to be able to provide those who will autonomously use the technologies and the innovations, and they will be able to change it and to adapt it, and by adapting it, generating innovations. So these are very generic theoretical aspects. So in this equation, how can we say what are the roles of VET in systems of innovation? Well, here I'm bringing for you 3 different roles, and this has been theorized in 2010 by an Australian researcher called Philip Toner, and he wrote many different things about this. And according to Philip Toner, we have 3 main roles of vocational education in systems of innovation. The first one, and the most important one, of course, has to do with the skills formation, which is the traditional background of vocational education. And in this part, through teaching, vocational education helps to diffuse technology in the ecosystems. But it's not only this. In 2010, Toner already identified that the VET institutes can also work as innovation intermediaries when they put companies and services together, when they act as a hub that helped to connect different actors and to create synergies in a system. More than this, vocational education can also have an important role in research and development. And this specific role, this third level of role, is a role that usually happens in regions where universities or other public science and research agencies are not as strong as maybe in other scenarios. In my case particularly, I come from a background where universities were not interested in doing applied research, and this actually opened space for many VET institutes to occupy the space that was, so to say, a gap in the system. So this is a very generic presentation. This is a very theoretical presentation. What I want now is to start questioning this. So to start questioning this, I'm going to ask our contractor to put a video of one of our speakers. You will see Baldwin in the end of our meeting. Baldwin will make his presentation, and we will have a video now of him presenting a little bit of more details, what other roles we can have of vocational education in a system of innovation. So thank you. Let's watch the video. It's just 3 minutes.
Hi, I want to talk to you about how you can build a successful public-private partnership. We are an open source learning community of more than 350 partnerships across Europe. Each partnership in our network is unique. After working with them for more than 10 years, we have identified 6 building blocks that represent their core functions. Each partnership chooses the building blocks that work for them to accomplish their goals. By using different combinations of these blocks, they can do the work they want to do. We're going to look at what each of these blocks can look like in real life, using 3 examples. We have healthy aging, that works on healthcare and the aging of populations, to find ways that we can all stay fit and active as we age. At Greenport Horticampus, they are improving horticultural educational programs in order to protect and improve our ability to grow healthy food. And Wind op Zee, where they are all about maintenance of wind turbines and making the transition towards greener energy a reality. Let's start with the network building block. These partnerships aren't created with just 3 organizations working together. They have incredible networking potential. In fact, the Healthy Aging Project has over 150 partners from education, business and local government. With so many partners involved, it's important to have a relationship manager who uses communication and entrepreneurial skills to bring business and education together. The applied research block can take many different forms. The Healthy Aging Partnership does projects ranging from printing 3D carrots based on carrot puree to incorporating serious gaming theory into online learning platforms. These projects can link to other blocks, like improving education and professional innovation. When it comes to the improving education block, we see two different approaches. One is a focus on content, like the way Wind op Zee has developed 3 new courses to train students on the latest wind turbine technology. The second option is to focus on form, like the way the Greenport Horti campus makes the practical real by having students take responsibility for raising plans for research projects. Examples of the professional innovation block include projects like the Greenport Horti campus developing new methods and products for greenhouses. At Wind op Zee, they are finding ways to use drones to inspect wind turbine rotor blades. The context-rich infrastructure block may take the form of shared facilities, like when the Healthy Aging program gives students the chance to use a professional food lab for their microbiology class. It can also include working on infrastructure, like the Wind op Zee program, working with the city of Vlissingen, making 30 neighborhoods energy neutral. And our 6th building block is the lifelong learning block. When they work together, public-private partnerships can create specialized programs to help people who are working in the sector to continue learning throughout their careers. The Greenport Horti Center created the Horti Heroes Academy, which helps high potentials learn and apply business and leadership skills in the food and flower industries. Feeling inspired? Check out the Catapult website to find out which building blocks will work for you. On our network map, you will find additional examples of how the building blocks are used. Let's make sure that today's talent is ready to build a great tomorrow. We are Catapult, and we are on the move. Will you join us?
What a great video, Baldwin. Thank you so much for sending this video for us. I think it really puts some aspects to discuss about what else VET can do in a system of innovation. So to start this discussion from a more practical point of view, we will now invite our colleagues from North Macedonia. We'll invite Dr. Bojan Jovanovski, coordinator of the GreenOVET project, and also Dr. Trajce Velkovski, who is the head of the Center of Vocational Excellence in Green Innovation in North Macedonia. So we will have 20 minutes for you guys, and just remember to leave a few minutes in the end just for an open discussion. If you have questions, you can also write your questions in the chat, and we will have a moment to discuss this. Thank you so much, and the floor is with you.
Thank you, Jan, for the great introduction. You put a little bit pressure on us, but I hope we can be on the level of the job. So, as announced, Trajce and I today will talk about the GreenOVET project and regarding the developments of all 4 COVEs with focus on the COVE in North Macedonia. So, the GreenOVET project is one of the projects financed by the Erasmus Plus program for Centers of Vocational Excellence. It started in 2020, so it was one of the pilot projects before this became part of the whole program. So maybe you've heard the Erasmus Plus program of Centers of Vocational Excellence is aiming to create 100 initiatives like this, so probably 400, 500 centers across Europe. In our project, we have one joint European initiative to create international platform on vocational excellence in green innovation, and 4 COVEs in regional COVEs in green innovation. 1 COVE in Styria, this is region in Austria, 1 in Vasa in Finland, 1 in Leiria in Portugal, and in Skopje in North Macedonia, that we're going to talk about more today. So when we started the project back in 2020, but also in every discussion with new potential partners or stakeholders until today, we always need to explain 2 things: what vocational excellence means, and the other part is what green innovation means, since we all can imagine that it's pretty broad. So in the implementation of the project, we understand green innovation as activities that comprise all types of innovation contributing to creation of key products, services, or processes to reduce the harm, impact, and deterioration of the environment, at the same time that optimizes the use of natural resources. So based on this definition of green innovation, how we defined green skills in the beginning of our project, green skills encompass set of interconnected technical and generic skills needed for development, implementation, spreading, and scaling up of green innovation. So this is clearly very wide scope of the activities that we have, but they have one thing in common. All of the skills needed are actually what we have to develop in the next few years if we want to fulfill the Agenda 2030 and the Agenda 2050 when it comes to the green transition. And they're all focused on not only changing the products or the materials, but also changing the habits of professionals and citizens, and both of them start in the classroom. So how we do it, who is in it? So we have, as I said, 4 regions, and in each region, in the partnership, so as full partners in the project, we have at least one higher education institution, and where we had both classical universities and University of Applied Sciences or polytechnics. We took both of them on board. Also, in each region, we have at least one secondary education level technical school, and we have at least one industry representative, somewhere 2, so cluster or chamber. And in each of the regions, mainly as associated partners, we have governmental institutions and non-governmental organizations supporting development of education and development of green innovation and green skills. So in total, this is a team of 18 partners in the project, but more important than that, in each region, we develop so-called regional committees of vocational excellence in green innovation, which are representatives from different stakeholders in the ecosystems. And in each region, we have this committee with more than 40 participants per region, because it's very important to keep most of the stakeholders on board and make sure that what you're doing, it's not only focusing on the needs or interests of few partners, but really it's widely accepted across the skills ecosystem. So the 4 COVEs that we established, they all have similar role, but because of the specifics of the regions, they had to be focused in some sense in different areas. So each COVE is focusing their activities in development of technical skills and technical occupations based on the smart specialization strategies in that region. So based on that, connected to green, in Styria, we are focused on digital technologies, energy technologies, mobility technologies, and automotive industry, together with waste management and food and healthcare industry. And additionally to this, in some of the regions, partners are focusing on automotive and manufacturing engineering and water treatment. So as you can see on this table, different COVEs have different focus, but still we have at least 2 COVEs working on each topic, and this allows us to work together significantly to update existing curricula, to develop new educational programs, to find and develop innovative learning and teaching methods, and of course, beyond all of that, to collaborate a lot with peer mentoring, peer learning, and even sometimes we have this peer evaluation where we see how the others are working and give them some feedback on what they can improve. Next slide, please, Rachel. The types of skills that we are focused on in all 4 regions and on the international level are, of course, the generic skills. So I have to stress one disclaimer. When we started with the implementation of the project, the Green Comp was not out yet. So we, instead of using that great tool that is now available, we had to have our own research on which generic skills to focus on. And we selected this list of generic skills. They were all confirmed by the survey that we did with different stakeholders, and all the regions initially started focusing on them. And this list and activities and the materials used for creation of generic skills were and are constantly updated, and we work on them to make them in line with the GreenCom. Again, the approach on achieving them or how to develop them is based on updating of the existing curricula and educational programs, but also we organize a lot of in-house trainings to prepare the teachers mainly to change, first of all, their mindset, but also their skills, and to provide them with tools to teach the students in a innovative and interactive and interesting way. So they can not only get skills or competencies, but also they can change their mindset, because this is what is the primary driver of changes when it comes to the green transition. Next slide, please. So because of the complexity of the 4 COVES, probably the best way to compare them and to say how different they are or how similar they are is one table of the structures, and even the names are different, as you can see in the second column. But what maybe is interesting for those of you that want to know more on how to govern or how to organize COVES, out of 4 COVES, we have 3 different frameworks of organization. So in Styria, we established an association. So the heads of few institutions, so 2 higher education, 3 higher education institutions, cluster, chamber, and some additional regional partners established the association, and we are still taking additional members in. In Vasa and Leiria, they created very wide networks with tens of stakeholders from the region signing network agreement, with which they regulated the way that they're going to collaborate and the scope for collaboration. And in Skopje, Traiche will talk more about that, but in their ecosystem, in their region, it turned out that the best way for this center to function and to establish its objectives on during the project and to be sustainable after that is if the university in Skopje, which is the biggest and most influential education institution in the country, would be the host of the COVE. And for now, in all 4 regions, it's going well. And it turns out that we really selected feasible options for each of the regions. So how the projects are funded, how the COVES, are funded, mainly, of course, in this period, 2020 to almost end of 2024, we have 80% co-funding of the Greenovate project through the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union, and 20% coming from own funding. When it comes to what's happened after the project, of course, the services and instruments implemented will bring some revenues. The partners and the hosts, depending on the regions, will bring on their own resources. And the regional and national funding is on its way. We'll see how much we'll manage to obtain and how much we'll manage to increase the scope of activities after the project. But of course, international and EU funding will always stay important in order to keep the alignment among the different European partners, and even more so to extend this initiative in many more than these 4 initial countries. So since Traiche will continue talking with focus on Skopje region, at the end of the parts of Greenovate, I would like to stress our slogan, Skills for a Green Europe, but it's also our vision and our challenge. So, as I said, if we want to achieve our agenda 2050 for the green transition, we need to work together. And by working together, I don't mean only the partners of these 4 countries, but all of us in Europe. So if you work on something similar, or if you think that anything that we did or developed so far can help you, join our wider network, contact us, talk to us what you're doing, ask us what we do, and we would gladly share with you everything that you can to support your quest into this journey. Thank you. Traice, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Bojan, and thanks for the introduction in the Center of Vocational Excellence, which is actually the output of the Greenovet project that was presented by my colleague Bojan. I will start with the initiative of establishment of those kind of centers of vocational excellence. As Bojan already mentioned a couple of times, this is one of the most ambitious projects in Erasmus Plus program. There is budget that is allocated till 2027 with 400 million in order to fund 100 projects. It means that each and every project that has been part of this program is financed approximately with 4 million euros. It needs a lot of effort, and it needs a lot of partners and countries which are going to be involved in the entire process. And for sure, this is one of the most ambitious projects in Erasmus Plus program. What is actually the Center of Vocational Excellence? I will not try to be very theoretical in this part, but I somehow sense the need in order to explain what we are speaking about today and what is actually behind those words, Centers of Vocational Excellence. This is actually some local platform or local network which aim to create social skills, to create skills ecosystem for innovation, regional development, and social inclusion. In our sense, in our situation, our COVE is actually focused on development of green skills for development of innovation or green innovation. We have started to work, let's say, when I say we, I'm speaking about the University of St. Kirill and Methodius, where I'm coming from. Originally, I'm assistant professor at the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering. And in more than 15 years ago, we have started to speak about entrepreneurship, about development of innovation, and bringing the idea of young population to become entrepreneurially oriented. But somehow, in the meantime, we have found out that we have done a huge mistake, that we have learned our students and our vet providers in order to learn how to gain some knowledge, how to be productive, how to be innovative, but at the end, the most important thing that they have learned was how to make money or how to be better in the economy sense. But in this manner, we have forgot about the nature. And this was the biggest mistake that we have done in our past. And everything that we are doing now is we are trying to, how should I say, to be much better in the near future and to learn the young people and young students how to be creative, how to be innovative, but in order not to harm the environment. That's why we have started to work on those centers of vocational excellence, which are actually going to support the vet sector. Okay, we say we are going to need a lot of young people which are going to develop green, innovative, and new businesses in the economy. But the first problem that we are facing is the vet sector ready for this? And do we have those capacities in order to prepare the younger generation to develop new sustainable businesses? So in the first phase, we are focusing on developing the skills or raising the awareness of green innovation of the vet providers and vet teachers and trainers. So in this sense, those centers of excellence are actually the ones that are going to support the inclusive and sustainable economy, and the ones that are going to help to the teacher and training providers in order to ensure that their students, their trainees are going to develop green businesses which are not going to harm the environment and which are not going to be any environmental problem in next 20 or 30 years. In that sense, maybe you know already that the plastic the main problem that we are having in the environment in this moment, more years ago was the biggest invention in the world. So in that sense, we are trying to teach our young students or younger generation in order not to innovate new product or new plastic, which is going to be the problem of the future. So we have established this Center of Vocational Excellence, which is going to be focused or is already focusing only on development of green skills for green innovation. And this is only 1/4 of the entire Greenovate project, because as Bojan already mentioned, we have 4 coves established in 4 different regions, in Macedonia, in Austria, Portugal, and Finland. So in our country, we have 5 representatives or 5 organizations which are included in the establishment of the center, and they're also partners in the Greenovate project. As you can see, the first one is the institution where I'm coming from, St. Cyril and Methodist University in Skopje. The second one is non-governmental organization, which is dealing in more than 20 years with the development of innovation and entrepreneurial learning. The next one is a VET provider, which is in the automotive industry. Asuc Boro Petrushevski is the vocational school. The next one is Rade Končar. It's the only partner which is a company in the project. Out of 18 partners, this is the only company that is coming from the real sector, which is very important for us, because they are the most important, they are the leaders in the green transition that is happening at this moment, and we are just following their needs in order to provide them with the proper staff or proper younger generation which are going to be ready to implement the green transition. And of course, the last one, Macedonian Chamber of Commerce, which is the best connection between the universities and the higher educational or vocational education and training providers together with the industry. Those are our mission and vision. In our mission, we have foreseen to foster environmental, social, and economic development in the entire country through green and sustainable innovation processes enabled by the VET excellence. Our vision is to become recognized as a lead regional center for green innovation in VET excellence for the beginning in our region. And of course, we are trying to spread the word internationally. How we have started and what we are doing and what are our ongoing activities. We have started with capacity building of the COVE staff. As I already mentioned, the first initiative or the first activities was to build the capacities of the vocational educational in the vocational educational system. But of course, we started from our capacities and building the capacities of the COVE staff. We have developed a portfolio of instruments and services. We have done a lot of promotion, communication, and dissemination. And some of the things that has been done in the previous, in the near history, were actually some competitions and public events that were organized, or that was organized. Here we have spoke about innovation together with the president of the VET agency in Macedonia, with the municipality, with the mayor of the municipality, and with the Minister of Environment in Macedonia. Actually, those are the biggest or the most important stakeholders in the implementation of all activities that are foreseen as Center of Vocational Excellence here. We have done also, this is picture of the capacity building of the staff of the COVE. Here in Macedonia, all of the COVE representatives were present from 4 COVEs of the Greenovate project that I already mentioned. And here we have some trainings that is already started together with the VET providers and teachers and trainers and educators. Here you can see me.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm just going to have to ask you to conclude because we are going beyond the time now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So those are again some pictures of the things that we have done. I'm going to say that this is maybe the biggest impact that we have done here. This is the national competition for best business concept for green innovation that has happened this year. And we have more than 30 ideas from the students from VET schools that have developed their own business ideas and presented business ideas in green innovation. What are the future activities? Similar like this event we are planning to organize another international competition, which is going to be done also in Skopje in September 2023, for which we are already have developed very good agenda in which we are going to help to the students to develop their own green skills. So thank you very much. I will once again call you if anyone is connected with this kind of activities or is interested in developing a new cove regarding the green innovation. We are open to collaborate together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bojan and Tresje. Was very interesting to hear from you. I have many questions, but I will save my questions to the end when we have the open discussion. And I also want to remind colleagues in the audience that if you can use the chat to add new questions if you would like to. And of course, we will have by the end of the meeting more time to discuss the questions. And now we will move to Germany, and we will invite Melanie Henke and Christine Wild to present their projects and the relationship with VET and systems of innovation. And yeah, we're looking forward to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Jan, for inviting us to share the perspective of the Hanseparlament and to present some of our projects. I'm here with my colleague, Christian, and we will make sure to be in time because my colleague also has to leave to the airport right after our presentation. So we also have prepared some slides. I will share my screen. Luckily, I think some of the things I wanted to say can be shortened because of my colleagues who spoke before me and explained a lot about the COVEs, the Centers of Vocational Excellence. But I would first of all like to give a short introduction of the Hanseparlament, the organization that Christian and I work for. The Hanseparlament is an NGO based in Hamburg in Germany, and it is actually almost 30 years running. So we have a lot of experience with projects. Our goal, our setup is that we are a non-profit network of more than 50 chambers of commerce, of industry and crafts. So we represent more than 570,000 SMEs, as well as 21 universities. Most of our members are located in the Baltic Sea region, but we also have many members beyond that region. Our overall goal is to support and to promote small and medium-sized enterprises. And well, these times, as you may know, this means basically two things. We are working a lot with the current skills gap. And the second thing is the lack of workforce. So that's something that kind of stretches all over our work. So how do we work? We bring together SME associations, such as the chambers. We bring together VET providers, as well as higher education institutions to work on various topics. So we have many projects on digitalization topics. Now, of course, sustainability and green topics, but also entrepreneurship and innovation. So I already mentioned the way we work is mostly through European funded projects. So currently we have 6 projects that we are leading, and we are involved in 7 other projects. And today we will present 2 projects that we believe show quite well how we work with VET in the center of innovation systems. I leave you here our website so you can have a look at all our projects. Before we have a look at the 2 projects, I just want to quickly point out the success factors that we identified over the years when it comes to working with VET in the Center of Innovation initiatives. So in all our projects, we put the collaboration with industry, with SMEs in the center. So that's really the key, we think, to to supporting SMEs and to supporting VET at the same time. We always foster a practical and applied learning experiences. So work-based learning is always a strong focus in our work. And that's something that in Germany, is very institutionalized since many years. There's many good things about this, but it can also then be hard sometimes to change things in the German VET system. But especially in the Baltic Sea region, this has been a strong focus in our work. We try to update the curricula, VET curricula, with critical thinking methods, with problem solving, creativity, and entrepreneurship, which then fosters innovation possibilities, of course. And what we learned is that it's crucial to really engage all stakeholders from the beginning and to ensure that they can cooperate on an eye level. We have learned that the chambers that we work with, they play a crucial role as mediators between the VET organizations and the companies that we work with. Well, of course, crucial to understand the mutual needs, the labor market needs, to be really in close cooperation. And to build and maintain strong relationships. This was also mentioned in the video that was shown at the beginning, where Boudewijn said how crucial it is to have someone who is then really in charge of this network. You can call it COVI network, you can call it public-private partnership or else. But to have the strong relationship and someone who fosters this. And to be committed to this and to show leadership. So this is just some general remarks about how we work, what we put as a priority, and how this then turns into action. We want to show you now as an example with 2 projects. So first of all, my colleague Christian will present the ProGreen project. And then I will tell you more about a COVI project, the 3LOE project. So, Christian, I'm going to show your slides now.
Thank you, Melanie. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for the invitation, for the possibility to present our work here. I want to present to you our ProGreen project, which is focusing on promoting and upgrading skills in agriculture. As you might know, European agriculture is facing a lot of challenges and transformations at the moment. There are huge targets of reducing CO2 emissions. They have to preserve biodiversity and carefully use soil, air, and water. And at the same time, also they have to maintain, have to provide enough food for us and be economically sustainable. However, according to an assessment by the European Parliament, there's a lack of necessary qualification, as only 8.5% of all farmers in Europe have comprehensive education. Also, the European farmers are quite old in general. Only 11% are younger than 40 years, and a third is already over 65, which means basically already retired. In this project, we have formed a partnership of 6 different organizations, vocational schools, universities, and an agricultural chamber from Germany, Italy, Lithuania, Norway, and Finland. And we are developing 3 main educational products or areas of products. First of all, we are developing 2 new initial vocational education and training programs for new farmers. One more extensive program with a duration of 4 years, and another one a little bit more basic as starting point for farmers, for people who have some learning difficulties, or as we also say, who are more practically gifted. Also, we are developing 2 further educational programs for agriculture, one focusing more on the sustainability and ecological processes, and the other one on the economic side of farming. And we are developing 2 training programs for trainers. One is for in-company trainers, so that they can play a role in the dual vocation vocational systems and vocational educational programs, and one for vocational teachers, so they are more prepared in conducting these new vocational training programs. Next slide, please. Yes, I want to present to you three ways in how we are fostering innovation in this project. The first of all is through the partnership structure. We are a very international consortium with partners from Italy, from Germany, from Lithuania, Finland, and Norway, representing different economic backgrounds, different national conditions, which is especially important in agriculture. Also, when we are looking at climate change and how it's affecting different countries. Also, as you can see, we have different types of partners in this project. We have universities on the one hand, we have vocational schools, and also an employer organization by the Chamber of Agriculture. All of these institutions are bringing in their specific needs, their ideas, their background, and their knowledge, and jointly work on new and innovative vocational training programs. In these, the different national conditions and the different needs from these types of organizations are reflected, and also the testing in different national settings and in different countries proves that the programs that we are developing are transferable and can be used in other countries as well that are not in the partnership. Next slide, please. Also, there's a cooperation in this project with external stakeholders. We just had a training in Norway last week, and we had a guest speaker from a Norwegian Agricultural Innovation Center, and he pointed out how important it is how important vocational education and training is for innovation in agriculture, because these national innovation centers, they depend on schools and on universities to impart the new knowledge that they have developed in their education programs, so it can be later taught in the schools and in the universities. Different national innovation centers are cooperating with the program partners. So through the project and through the external cooperation, we are imparting this knowledge in the educational programs and can therefore realize innovation in that and in agriculture. Next slide. And the third point I want to share with you is innovation through the learning design and the learning processes. Especially for the further education programs, we are following an approach that we call KIND approach, knowledge acquisition according to individual needs. This is especially important when working with adult learners in the further education programs. They are often not willing, especially when working with SMEs, to participate in long-lasting trainings of several weeks. So we try to follow this approach by first having a very short classroom teaching phase of about 1.5 to 2 days. There, the whole process of the learning course, of course, is explained, and the participants are given an introduction to different fields, different aspects of the learning course. They also receive extensive learning materials for the self-study, and they are already familiar that they have to now develop their own project in the second phase. Second phase is lasting 12 to 18 weeks usually, and this is characterized by a lot of self-study of the learners, but also by implementing at least one specific project with the content they have learned in their workplace. During this time, the teachers become more like coaches. They are supporting the students by developing the project, by implementing the project, and also by reflecting on the project success. So this work-based learning process or approach is very successful in our opinion and our experience, because it's not just frontal teaching and learning by memory. They are really implementing what they have learned, and they go with a different mindset on the self-study. And this third phase, also very important for the learning process, is report and reflection. The students know from the beginning that in the end they have to prepare a report and share the project with the other participants of the course. This can be often done also with different channels that are more interactive and more engaging for students, like creating a podcast, creating a video, and showing the project they've implemented like this to the others. Also, in the third phase, students are learning from each other. They are seeing, oh, in that farm, they implemented a certain project that might be interesting for us as well. And by this, new innovative ideas are implemented or developed by the students themselves and implemented in farms that usually cannot be taught like this in a classroom training. And like this also, we are fostering innovation in vocational education and in agriculture in this project. And now my colleague Melanie will present our Centers of Vocational Excellence project.
Thank you. Yes, I will take a few more minutes. As I said, there has been a great introduction beforehand, so I don't have to tell so much about the context. 3LOE is also one of the COVI projects, Centers of Vocational Excellence project. The full name of 3LOE is 3-Level Centers of Vocational Excellence in the Green Economy. So it is somewhat overlapping also with the GreenOvet project. We have green economy as the center topic, and it's also a horizontal topic, meaning that we deal with different sectors here in this project. You heard already about the program. Similar as GreenOvet, we also started in 2020. So the project is running already for 3 years, and we have 1 more year to go. Our consortium is comprised of 22 organizations, mainly vet schools, but then also chambers, universities, and administration bodies. The countries in our project are Austria, Germany, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, and Spain. And the overall goal is to establish 3-level centers of vocational excellence in each of these countries on the topic of green economy to improve and promote green skills for SMEs, and also to foster innovation. So I will tell more about what we mean with this 3 levels in a second, but I want to already state here that the results we expect are more than 50 education measures that we are currently developing and testing and evaluating. So education measures, what do I mean? This is mostly dual vocational trainings, but also further trainings, study courses, train the trainers, and different business competitions. So many different results. They will all be available on our website. And maybe I'll go to the next slide to give you an example of how we work in the 3LOE project. Basically, this is the partner structure, and it's a very colorful slide because you can see here that we made sure that in every country, the setup is that we have a vet school at the heart of the regional cove, let's say, COVI. Then in every country, we have a chamber or some kind of SME association. And we have a higher education institution or a university. Sometimes it's a college or University for Applied Sciences. And in some cases, we also have policy bodies involved. And these organizations then form this network that we call Center of Vocational Excellence. So as Christian mentioned already, I think this partner structure is really crucial in our work. So we already bring together the partners needed to set up this innovation structure. And what was mentioned in the beginning by Jan, that it depends really on each region how the setup then functions. So whether it's a big city where you have, many institutions dealing on with innovation, maybe it's more a region that is that has no such infrastructure, then the Center of Vocational Excellence plays a different role. And what we mean by 3 levels, So first level, we mean the dual vocational training level, young people. The second level, lifelong learning, adult learning, reskilling and upskilling. And by the third level, we also try to involve higher education institutions and bring them together with a VET approach. So to make higher education in a dual approach, in a work-based learning approach. And in connection with these educational levels, we try to promote innovation support and implement concrete research and development activities in SMEs. So for example, as Christian mentioned, we have this KIND method where during the training setup, there is a phase where the learners go back into the companies and work on a concrete innovation project. And they get support from the vocational education and training teachers. And also with the study programs, we try to integrate in the curricula already that there is innovation projects happening together with SMEs. So that was in very short how we do that in the 3LOE project. And we also have left here our contacts. We are very happy to hear from you, Christian and I. I will also stay for questions. Christian has to leave now, but we thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Melanie. It was so good to hear from you and the Hansa Parliament on so many different projects and different activities. And again, many questions can be developed, but I will suggest one thing. We always try to have a very short break after 1 hour, because everybody needs to stand up a little bit, walk a little bit, and come back. So we will do the following. We have now, in 3 minutes, we'll come back. And when we come back in 3 minutes, we'll have the presentation of Baldwin. You saw Baldwin in the beginning in the video, but now he will make his presentation. And I'm really, really looking forward to that. So please stay tuned, only 3 minutes, and we come back, okay? Oh, sorry, I'm speaking here and I'm unmuted for 1 minute. Okay. No, I was just saying that I'm happy that we didn't really lose any participants in the polls, which is very good. And so now that little by little everyone's coming back, I just want to remind everybody that you can use the chat to put any questions, and we will address these questions right after Baldwin's presentation. But Baldwin, are you ready? We are looking forward to hear from you. Thank you so much for the video that we showed in the beginning. And yes, please, the floor is yours now.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation, and it's my pleasure to be here. And well, since I have been on screen already today, I will try to keep my presentation brief so that there's ample time for well, questions, but also to have a conversation about this important topic with regards to VET. I have prepared a slide deck as well. I will tell you a little bit about well, applied research in the Netherlands, and also tell you something about two projects that recently have started, European projects on applied research in VET. And don't worry, it won't be just me talking. I have well, some contributions from companies, for instance, as well, stating why they feel it's important to be involved in well, the ecosystems surrounding VET, doing innovation and applied research. But first, for those of you who do not know Catapult, we are a non-profit organization, an NGO based in the Netherlands, and we are a network of public-private partnerships in VET and higher VET throughout the Netherlands. About 15 years ago, the Dutch government and schools and companies well, basically said, okay, the challenges we are facing in terms of labor market developments, digitalization, greening our economy, those challenges are just too big for a single organization itself to solve. And that's why we have to work together in, well, what we call public-private partnerships. In European level, you would call them COVIs, probably, that we just saw as well. And what we're trying to do in the network of 450 of these projects in the Netherlands is to prevent that anyone has to reinvent the wheel. So we're sharing knowledge, best practices, but also lessons learned. Because we all know the nice presentations of, well, how amazing the world can look like. But well, to be fair, sometimes when you're trying to do innovation, a lot will fail as well. And it's important to share those lessons so you can really well, get each other to a higher level. And that's what this open source learning community is all about. Well, and as of with the start of the Centers of Vocational Excellence that started a couple of years ago, well, we try to, well, learn lessons from all over Europe as well, because there's many different places, as you saw in the presentations of Melanie, Christian, and Bojan, that a lot of stuff is happening all across Europe, and we're trying to, well, combine that knowledge and make sure that it's beneficial to well, the VET sector as a whole. In the Netherlands, there are quite a few COVIs active, so you see their logos on the screen. Well, very diverse sectors that they are focusing on. You will get the slide deck so you can have a look at them well, in more detail later on. And quite a few are doing applied research or are working on innovation. So if you like to see, like for specific sectors, for instance, Eveka is on the healthcare sector or Elkamp on advanced manufacturing, you can actually see how in these sectors, well, what kind of activities these COVIs are developing. When we're looking at the Netherlands, every 2 years we do like an impact study in okay, well, what does the network look like? And what we see that each of these 450 well, projects in the Netherlands on average include 35 companies, include 400 to 600 students annually in its activities, and also make sure that teachers are involved, which is highly important because they are training the workers of tomorrow. So throughout the network, we reach about 12,000 companies. All VET schools and universities of applied science are involved, and in total, we reach about 124,000 students, covering all sectors in society and economy. And if you use well, the QR code on screen, you will go to the publication of our impact study that we're doing well, every 2 years. And one of the questions we've asked to companies is, okay, why are you involved in this collaboration with the schools? And 40% of them is saying, well, doing applied research, doing innovations, whether it be prototyping, testing like new concepts, is very important or important for them to be involved in these collaborations. And I think this is an important development because traditionally, in the Netherlands at least, a lot of companies are looking at vet schools as the place where they get their workforce from. So it's a place where people are being trained, and as soon as they graduate, then the role of vet is over, at least in the perception of a lot of companies. And we see this shifting, that there is like a lot more additional services and more roles that vet providers actually can provide to a skills ecosystem. And that has everything to do with the video that you've shown before, because there are many more activities that you can do in collaboration between companies, regional governments, and schools. So it's the applied research, it's sharing facilities and infrastructure, improving education together. Lifelong learning is quite commonly known, of course, but also really building the network, making sure that together you're making the pie bigger instead of just focusing on increasing your slice of the pie. And also professional innovation. So how to keep like the latest innovations, how to get that into the work processes is hugely important, especially when it comes to small and medium-sized enterprises, because quite often these are the type of organizations that do not have like a big research and development department. So it's really important that vet schools, students, teachers, but also other companies can help each other to get to the next level, up to date with developments in society, and make sure that we are competitive, green, but also inclusive. So to give an example of what such a public-private partnership can look like. In Dordrecht, close to Rotterdam, we have the Duurzaamheidsfabriek, roughly translates as the sustainability factory. And this is a shared location by schools and basically all big companies in the port of Rotterdam. And initially, this started as a training facility where like lifelong learning was been done, and initial training where students and workers who are being trained were using the same facilities. So that there's like all kinds of installations there that are also in the harbor where you cannot train on in the harbor because it's operational. But in this facility, students can actually learn on these facilities and are also allowed to make mistakes without any fires breaking out, so to say. But because this hub was created, this also meant that startup companies, but also bigger companies doing innovations were saying, hey, we can actually use this facility for innovations, test new products, test updates on the work processes. So it's really bringing the entire ecosystem together. And I think this is a really nice thing to see how you can combine these different functions of vet in one location. I do have to say with this example, this is one of our best examples in the Netherlands, and it took them quite a while to get here. So if you're, for instance, building a COVI, don't expect this to happen in the first year, for instance. This is like really a matter of time and commitment of a lot of partners. But when you are persistent and build this relationship with the co-ownership and the involvement of all partners, one of the success factors that Melanie mentioned as well, then it is possible to create such hubs and such ecosystems that are innovative ecosystems that are coming together in one location. Another example is actually coming from the European Platform for Urban Greening and the Platform of Vocational Excellence Water. And they did a deep dive, bringing students together with companies to work on very specific challenges. And I would like to show this video because it's the company partners who will be talking about what they have done. So it's basically an experience from first hand rather than me talking to you.
We're taking a deep dive, and it's not the kind where you wear swim shorts, but it's every time that the companies in ePlug meet together. We don't have the time to share our nerdy knowledge, so we wanted to go down in detail with the things we did.
ePlug is a network of landscapers throughout Europe. We are participants from 6 different countries, schools and companies, all sharing ideas of curricula and best practices throughout the countries.
ePlug is setting up a European-wide network, and we are learning from companies, but also from schools, from other countries, and we are learning how they do things and how we could apply that in our company and in our country as well. I participated in the deep dive because across Europe there's a lot of expert and a lot of knowledge, and when we combine our knowledge we're getting it even better.
ePlug is important for 2 reasons. We have to share knowledge across the countries and across the companies, but we also have to be part of changing the education, because we can't keep educating people as we did 20 years ago. If we do that, we won't be able to solve the problems of tomorrow.
Catapult is in the European platform for urban greening to really accelerate the working together of these companies and schools and all the other stakeholders. And after a while, the company said, we would like to share more on innovation. We're doing a lot of education, but what about the innovation?
So the deep dive is going down to issues and solutions and how we can create and work with them.
For me, it's important to participate in ePlug and also in the deep dive, because in Leeuwarden we also have the topic of urban and water working together. And in this case, we have an opportunity to do it not only on a national scale, but also in an international context.
We have here wonderful companies and we have wonderful learning institutes. And then we are trying here to gather information what is needed in the future on our sector, but also which is really needed in my company. So there are a lot of solutions which need to be implemented, and we are here trying to figure out how to get that knowledge and how to get that integration throughout the whole Europe for our sector to build better, greener environment in the future.
ePlug has the potential to really lead the market in companies, but also in schools. We could be like a knowledge hub for innovation, knowledge and learning on urban greening. And if in a couple of years ePlug is really known for that, that would be so cool.
We have a possibility to create, let's say, new urban city in a huge park which is already existing, and we can demonstrate not just the smart water management but all the other topics that all other groups are here working on.
If they all walk out happy and you can actually feel the buzz already.
The fact that within our team there are different backgrounds and different perspectives and different nationalities, it makes everything a little bit more complex, but at the same time it does enrich the solution.
The role I'm taking in the team is the practical approach. I need to see it for me, otherwise I cannot understand it properly to take it with me.
Yeah, and given the time, I'm just gonna cut the video short here. As you see, that there is a bit more to watch, but you will get that later. But I think it's important to highlight a couple of things that have been mentioned by the companies, and that's for one, the fact that it needs to be practical, and also you kind of notice that the way they approach it, they are calling it a deep dive, doing innovations, basically translating concepts from one region to another. And I think this is also something that's important, and an important lesson we have learned, that even though we call things maybe innovation or applied research, that is not necessarily how companies are calling it. So also if you're discussing these kind of activities with companies, also make sure what that they are actually would like to do and how you could help them, because what you call applied research might be something different to them than what you actually mean with it. There's another example I would like to give based on the experience in the Netherlands. We have this initiative, it's called Practoraten in Dutch, which I would loosely translate as like vet professorship. And a practor is basically a person who is specialized in either a domain or in an educational theme or didactic topic like citizenship. but it's really bringing together all the expertise in a region, well, both with the educational system, but also with the companies in the region. So they kind of serve as like a knowledge broker, but between the knowledge institutions, the vet schools, but also the universities, research institutions, and the companies. And in the Netherlands, we have about 100 of these, well, tractors working at the moment. They are embedded at the vet schools, but they're really working closely together with, well, the rest of the, well, skills ecosystem, if you would like to use that word, to make sure that like knowledge has been shared, well, both from the work field towards the educational institutions and research institutions, and vice versa. So if you, well, scan the code on this website, you will, or on this slide, you will go to the website with a bit more description, but also with an entire list of these practorates. And the reason why I put this green image on is to give you an example of one. In the center of the Netherlands, we have a green hotspot with a practorate on healthy urban living. And one of the things this practorate is actually doing together with students is taking like the publications that are coming out of well, universities with like these, well, nature-based publications over 80 pages, and they're translating that to like a one-pager or two-pager or a podcast that's useful for workers in the field, for instance, on biodiversity. So they really, well, drill down like this scientific knowledge into something that can be used straight away in practice. And by doing this, making this translation, they play a very important role in the knowledge circulation and finding solutions for the challenges that we're facing in society. Two more examples. These are actually European ones. It's the forward-looking projects on applied research in VET. There's 4 of these projects running, but I wanted to mention these two since, well, we are involved with quite a few of the speakers. Actually, the ERINVET project is led by Technica in the Basque Country, and also involves Hanzeparlament and Catapult, and well, also the company representatives in these countries. And what we're trying to do in ERINVET is to really identify well, the best practices in innovation and applied research in various regions within Europe, but also across the globe. So for instance, in Canada, trying to determine, okay, well, what are the success factors to do applied research and to really build a system that allows applied research and innovation in VET, and translating that into well, a training for schools, so that these models can be transferred between regions across Europe. So if you would like to, well, for instance, start investing in applied research and VET, you could use these lessons learned as a starting point to start implementing this yourself. Barcove is a similar project based on the POV Water and the Urban Greening COVIs. You just saw many of the companies involved in the video. And they're taking a slightly different approach with really starting to do applied research with hackathons, and then see, okay, well, how can well, students be involved, VET students be involved in gathering data, doing prototyping, and well, helping companies in gaining more knowledge. And one of the interesting things here is that, well, the companies are actually saying, well, when it comes to research, please spare us the PhDs. There's many publications and great work being done at universities, but it is a different type of knowledge, a different type of research that we actually need to implement these innovations. And this is where VET can play a very important role, to have like the right skills to transfer this knowledge. And also, if you're working in the field, to collect data, see, well, what kind of research skills you need to be informed, and to, well, really prove prototypes, for instance. And that's what we're trying to do in Barcove, to really, based on real life cases, to identify, okay, well, what kind of skills do students need? What kind of skills do the teachers need? And also to see, okay, well, how can you build, again, a system where applied research has been facilitated by VET? I'm going to end on the video of ERINVET, especially since there's an invitation in there. So without further ado, I would like to show you this.
Did you know that vocational education and training participate in applied innovation and research activities? The European Commission has called for centres of vocational excellence to support local businesses in innovation and green and digital transitions. Our objective is to define the role of VET in research and innovation by proposing a European reference framework for applied innovation and research in vocational education and training. To do this, we will follow a research, development, implementation and recommendation process on how to implement applied research in VET. Through the Air in VET project, we aim to drive European economic growth and support the green and digital transition by promoting applied innovation and research in vocational education and training for SMEs and industry. Would you like to have your applied research experience within VET education showcased in our project? Join us.
And on that note, I would like to end this presentation. If you would like to have more information on either Catapult or what all the COVIs are doing, you see the websites on the screen. And also feel free to drop me an email if you have any further questions. So without further ado, I would like to thank you for your attention, and back to you, Jan, to start the discussion.
Thank you so much, Baldwin. Always great to hear you. So I want to remind everybody that you can use the chat to put any questions if you have. I have several questions that I will start putting here for the discussion. So the first point that I want to highlight has to do with the benefits. I think it's an important discussion to say, what are the benefits for the VET system to have a more substantial role on systems of innovation? Or if we're thinking about the integration with the industry, the integration with innovation policies, what are the concrete benefits, especially, for example, from the point of view of resources? Is this a way of obtaining resources that maybe VET schools would not obtain before? Is there something about the way that VET can obtain these resources that needs some changes in the organization of the VET schools? Or is this something that you think that that it, to a certain extent, it's not different from what it was before? So let's think about the benefits, and let's start talking specifically from the point of view of resources. And it's a question for both Baldwin, Melanie, and Tresci. From the point of view of all of you have a focus on the Erasmus+. All of you have this relationship and obtain resources through Erasmus+. Erasmus+, of course, is important, but for the VET schools, how important it is to have access to these resources, and how important it is to diversify the services and the ecosystems and obtain different ways of obtaining funding sources to the VET school. Please feel free. It's a webinar kind. Everybody can open the mic and react to everything that we're saying. So I will ask Baldwin to start.
Okay, then I will just start indeed, and then Melanie can correct me and Trudge as well to see if I've been talking sense or not. But to me, I think like the Erasmus funding is really like a type of funding that schools can use to make a start with these kind of projects and diversifying the services offered. So in that sense, I think it's like a Kickstarter to get these changes in motion. And when it comes to after the project period on how to continue this kind of work, and like whether or not this will attract additional resources, I think the experiences are a bit mixed. We know that in some regions across Europe, it's normal for companies to pay schools, for instance, to do some applied research or have students while working on innovative work processes in the companies. And that being said, we, at least in the Netherlands, also have quite a few experiences where this was absolutely not working because companies were saying, well, why should I pay extra if I already paid my tax? And that funding is also going to the schools. But I think in this case, the benefits are also more like indirect, like at least the schools that are successful in this in the Netherlands. We quite often see that like doing applied research, doing lifelong learning and innovating the education, it's all related because there are warm relationships. The schools are able to provide services to the companies, but it also ensures that like the latest insights are, well, being moved back into the curriculum as well. And for many schools in the Netherlands, this is actually a way of, well, updating their curricula to make sure that it's up to standard. And therefore, it's a way of guaranteeing that the students will continue coming to the school since it's like part of the quality system, so to say, making sure that the quality is high. So it's not offering direct funding, but I think more indirectly, it does make a big impact because it ensures the high quality of education.
Would you agree, Melanie?
I couldn't have said it better. No, I totally agree. And I think what you said in the beginning, that it gives this certain, kickstart and financial kickstart and resources kickstart, that's quite crucial, we see. So for example, 2 weeks ago, I was in Lithuania and visited a vet school there, and they had a total rebranding of their school to a green vet school. And they said they couldn't have done it without the European funded projects because there's no national funds for that. There was no support from national funds. So they only did it with their own resources and projects. And also a big reason is to make a vet more attractive. That's one of the main things we hear in all countries, basically, that they are struggling to keep up with the amount of young people going to study to universities, to make vet more attractive. So that's also what we see as a huge benefit to participate in such projects, and especially to bring in this innovation potential, and vet being more just learning a profession, but being part of this bigger ecosystem of skills and innovation.
Great. Traiche, would you agree? Would you add something from the perspective of North Macedonia?
Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity. I would like just to share my experience. Yes, I will just continue with the sentences that were said before. Actually, the biggest benefit for the vet schools is here for knowledge exchange of resources, and also exchange of communication with the industry. We cannot say that the vet schools don't have communication or don't have good cooperation with the industry, but for sure this is something that is this is a topic that needs to go on, and something that needs to be developed in much more higher level. So in our situation in Macedonia, when we start to build up our COVE, we have put on in the questionnaire that was across entire country, we have put in 2 questions. What are your expectations from the COVE, and what can you and how you can help with your competences or knowledge to the COVE? And the biggest number of answers that we have received here is actually that they are going to gain a lot of resources through the college. Either those are knowledge resources, either those are technical resources, machines, or some kind of technologies that they then don't have in their own institutions, in their vet schools. Through this cooperation, we have a lot of successful stories and examples in which students have learned some new technologies that are not already maybe even on the global market, but also technology that definitely are not in our syllabus or in the syllabus of the vet schools. We should be aware that we are preparing our students or our younger generations to solve some problems in the near future that are not already on the market. They are going to work on some technologies that are not still developed. So our opportunity here, or our aim here, is to give them the opportunity to have a lot of connections and to find the places where they can learn, because they cannot learn everything in the formal education and in the part that is in the syllabus. So that's why through this course and through the cooperation with the industry, we have practical work, and we have a lot of technologies which are not approachable in the vet schools and are not in the laboratories of the vet schools. So basically, I think that this is the biggest benefit. And of course, you mentioned the attractiveness of the vet. Vet is already very attractive for the companies, because the industry has a lot of problem with the finding the right people for the proper positions in the last period. But now we should just raise the awareness among youngers and to explain them that with finishing vet schools and having your vet education, you can be someone and you can help to the society a lot. Especially in our country, higher education is obligatory. So we have huge problems since all of the students are going in the higher education or at the faculty. So this is something that is really happening now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You already answered the second question that I have, which was already exactly talking about the vet status, and to talk about this supposed competition with universities. And I think it's a very interesting topic, because when we talk about vet and the participation in the systems of innovation, we actually see a cooperation. We actually see a tendency, a trend to create synergies between universities and vocational education, rather than competition between these different actors. Because to a certain extent, each actor has their strengths and their capacities. And even when we talk about research and development, for example, the cooperation between universities and VET, it's crucial. Very often you have situations in which VET has the capacity or the laboratories for doing some type of work that universities don't have. And being able to share this, it's crucial for the success of the project. So yeah, thank you very much. I will also give the floor to Lida, our colleague Lida Kita. Lida, please, your question. I also have a question in the chat that I will address later, just to say.
I just wanted to say thanks for everything. Just to remind ourselves, because it was mentioned, the financing, and Erasmus is the biggest thing. Now, we are talking of COVES because we call them COVES, but with Erasmus, they are getting so many funding for this cooperation with higher education, research, and the vet schools. And it's good to look at that, because we can't make the whole systems of countries COVES. But there are parts of the system that are acting as COVES, are being COVES, and are getting big funds from Erasmus. Of course, the most advanced in the sense where the schools are very connected with industry, and we have many countries in ETF, as we know, partner countries that already have that. When we were, and Budin would know, when we were in San Sebastian, we were surprised ourselves how many big industries, vet schools, not called COVES, and research and universities were already having projects with millions. So what I'm trying to say, we shouldn't just put it in a box because they are called vet or are licensed at vet COVES. We should look. The countries already, and you know, Jena have provided all the information where this exists at a very high level. If you look at Turkey, okay, the industries, they have their schools, vet schools, universities, research centers, and it is true that now we are talking of agriculture, which is big also for our countries, agriculture. And I can give you examples in all our countries. So I wanted to conclude here by putting labels. It's great, but we shouldn't look only at the systems and part of the systems that have the label. Secondly, Erasmus is giving also the capacity building for vet schools for that. And there are, you see from the Western Balkans and Turkey, it's a big number already applied and already getting projects from 300,000 to 2 million. So more than that, nobody can give you. What I'm trying to say is, and they create the corporations, they do all the capacity building, and they work with industry, and they do the research with universities. Thank you very much, and it was very enjoyable.
Thank you, Lida. I think you're absolutely right that indeed we have here today cases of COVAS, but it doesn't mean that COVAS it's the only way how VET can be a player in systems of innovation. Yeah? I mean, I have said this a few times here for those who know me. I come from Brazil. In Brazil, there's no such thing as centers of vocational excellence, and each single school has a role in the systems of innovation and very much advanced independently if we're talking from small schools or big schools. This is a crucial point. I think this is a little bit connected with a discussion that I still want to have. We still have a little bit of time, but we still have a question in the chat.
Yeah, well, Jan, maybe if I could respond to
sure, please,
to Lida, because I definitely agree with what she said. For instance, in the Netherlands, we call it public-private partnerships, and that's just a name, but it's coming from like all kinds of resources, all kinds of levels. And yeah, I mean, at one point, you just have to give something a name to know what you're talking about. But to us, for instance, the Centers of Vocational Excellence from Erasmus are just a means to, well, do the international collaboration with the schools and the companies. And I think we see a similar thing when we're talking about applied research, both in Arian VET and the Barkov project. We've been doing interviews with various stakeholders saying, well, are you doing applied research and innovation? And I'm like, no, we're absolutely not doing that. And then we continue talking like, but how do you collaborate with the schools then? And it turned out in what they described was something that we would actually call applied research, but that the stakeholders were like, yeah, no, that's not what we call that. So I think you're absolutely right to be careful in just labeling things and having these boxes and just, well, sticking to those boxes, because especially since you have so many different perspectives and also dictionaries in a way, it is important to keep an eye out for that. Like, okay, what does the other stakeholders, what do they actually mean when they are using a certain term, or what kind of references is that bringing to someone?
Absolutely. We had a question from the chat from Anna. She asked us to give concrete examples of the impact of VET in local communities. So maybe, Melanie, maybe you can answer this from the point of view of the projects from Hansa Parliament. I would just ask you to be very briefly so that we can give the last word to Manuela. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that question. So the interesting thing I would say with these COVI projects is the strong regional approach. And in our case, we have these 7 COVIs. So in each of these COVIs, in each of these regions, there is, its own story to tell. Each region has their own sectoral approach. So for example, in Poland, the focus is on logistics, on how to create green supply chains. So we have the local school in Słupsk in the region of Pomerania and the university who are collaborating on that together. And basically it's about creating a learning path that is permeable. So basically that young people can go into the VET school, start their VET degree there, and then continue, if they wish, in the university to also get the bachelor's degree or even master's degree. So that is, for example, one example. But yeah, there is for each country the own little story. And there was also the question about challenges. So exactly in Poland, there was a huge challenge to find the companies to collaborate with. And that's something we hear quite often, that in the beginning, it's quite hard if there is no financial support, let's say. So the companies, it's not enough, sometimes it's not enough for them just to say, hey, we want to cooperate with you. So it was very difficult for them to find companies who would work together. And then there was one company eventually who said, okay, I will do it. I know this dual approach from Germany, actually. And as soon as there was one company and there was a big press conference and there was a big media fuss about it, many companies started contacting our Polish partners. So that was an interesting story, that the beginning was very difficult, then one company was found, and now it's running quite smoothly.
That's an interesting case. Thank you so much, Melanie. Well, I think we're heading towards a conclusion. I want to thank everybody for participating in this discussion. I think it is a very relevant discussion that we still need more time for this. We still need more debate, and especially now I think it's important in the future that we look more towards very specific measures that can be done in the education systems to promote the role of VET in systems of innovation. And this is the point that I wanted to debate with you, but we won't have time. It's the point basically about what types of single measures we can see that could potentially lead to impact almost in the short term. We know that enhancing the work of VET and systems of innovation is something that takes decades of work. We see the case of the Netherlands, for example. Just how long it took the Netherlands to get to the level of maturity that you have now. But at the same time, I wonder what types of concrete actions policymakers can do to increase the role of VET. I think one point, for example, has to do with autonomy of schools. How far are schools capable, for example, of receiving private funding for doing projects? How far are the schools allowed, for example, to apply for Erasmus Plus projects? Or how far are the teachers flexible enough in their time to work with project-based learning, for example? These things are interesting points that I think that hopefully in the next moment we can continue this discussion. Well, for my part, thank you very much. And I want to give now the floor to Manuela so that we can conclude. Thank you very much, everybody. And Manuela, floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for the excellent examples and the really inspiration. Some of the slides and also videos that have been shared, I think are really a source of reflection and thinking for us and for everyone to think about the role of VET really in fostering systems of innovation. I want just to conclude to remind us on where we started from. So the plural use of these two words, roles that are very diverse, the way that each school and also VET system operates, but also the diversity of systems of innovation. And I think this reminds us that, first of all, we need to have the purpose, which can be very diverse. And this, I think, the first conversation that needs to happen, both on the side of VET as well as on the side of who is holding, let's say, the direction of what innovation means in a certain context, which could be a community, but also could be a sector. I think we had also many examples of the role of VET in fostering innovation during the pandemic. We saw several schools really taking the lead in terms of production of equipment, giving solutions, but also providing services to the community. In some, for example, I recall some schools in Egypt where IT students became tutors of teachers, and they became trainers of the whole system to allow for a fast transformation of education and training. And I think that was an amazing example of how VET schools could be really beneficial in fostering and accelerating innovation that is not necessarily only about production or technology application, but as I said, it's about processes, it's about services, it's about fostering this ecosystem. So with this in mind, I think that it's very important that we continue this journey. As we heard, this is a priority also in the policies of the European Union, in the framework of the Initiative on Vocational Excellence, which also has an important international dimension, linking up Europe and partner countries, of course, but it's also a feature that is very much present in the Year of Skills and what priorities are brought forward in this year of discussion. So with this in mind, I would say this is not for sure the last conversation we have on this topic. And I look very much forward to cooperate with all of you in the future and really to make sure that VET contributes to innovation with a purpose and with really having this in mind, both as a purpose to support individuals, but also to support our communities and societies. And with this, I wish you a very good evening ahead, and I thank you very much for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you, Manuela. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you for participation.
Thank you.